Hello everybody, it's Sara. Welcome back. Today I'm here to talk to you about all of my favorite books that I've read during 2020. Now you might have heard me say it before, but I feel like 2020 was kind of a weird reading year for me. I feel like a lot of the books that I've read didn't really leave a lasting impression on me. And as I was coming up with this list, I thought that it was going to be completely impossible for me to find 10 books that I really enjoyed this year. But out of the 134 books that I read this year, which is the most that I have ever read, by the way, I did finally find 10 books that I actually really loved. And I don't know why I had this very sad perspective on my reading year, because truly some of these books are now like some of my favorite books of all time, and that's really great. I'm really happy about it. I feel like I really got overwhelmed with the number of books that just didn't really like blow me away or just left me numb, because numb is definitely what I've been feeling throughout this entire year, and I just couldn't really like appreciate things as much as I wanted to. But that actually makes all of those books even more special, because they're the ones that really captured my attention or really made me happy. I feel like that's one of the things that really stands out to me as I look at all of those books, because normally I'm someone who really loves sad, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching stories, but this year I didn't want that. This year I wanted to feel happy, and those are the 10 books that really did that for me. So without any more rambling, let's start with book number 10, which for me was The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. The Truly Devious series is really one of my favorite series of all time. It's a mystery series in which we follow our main character Stevie, who goes to this very prestigious school on top of a mountain, and she actually goes over there because she wants to try and solve a murder case that happened there 30 years before. And as she starts to investigate, the events actually start to repeat themselves in the present, and this series definitely captivated me from beginning to end. I love the mystery, I love the two different timelines that we have in this series. I love Stevie, our main character, because she's just absolutely incredible, but also very relatable. She suffers a lot with anxiety and like panic attacks, and I feel like the representation of those things in this series is just so well done, which is definitely one of the main reasons why I love it that much as well. This third book is like the grand reveal of the trilogy, and I really love to see how everything got together. I feel like Maureen Johnson is really good at giving you like just enough in every single book for you to want to keep on going, and then she really delivers with this one at the end. I absolutely loved the reveal. I thought it was so well done, and overall this series is just absolutely amazing, and that's why the third book made it on my top 10. Then coming in at number 9, we have Smoke and Iron by Rachel Kane. This is my favorite book out of the entire Great Library series, but actually the entire series definitely has its rightful place on this list, because it completely took me by surprise and completely swept me off my feet, because I loved it so much. I feel like I've talked about the synopsis of this series like 10,000 times on my channel already, but in case you don't know, in this one we follow our main character Jess Brightwell, who lives into a world in which there is a very big library that controls everything that has to do with books and knowledge. And Jess's father is actually a very big businessman into the black market of books, and he sends Jess over to the Great Library to become an apprentice so that they can basically tear it down from the inside. And this book series is just so amazing. It is so much fun. It's so entertaining. The characters are so great and incredible. I love each and every single one of them. It had been a while since I had been that obsessed with such a big group of ragtag characters who don't really like each other, but they have to like kind of try to trust one another, and then they grow to love each other in the process. I just loved to read about all of them. I loved all of their banter. I loved all of their personality for so many different reasons, because they're all just so different and complex, and just I love them so much. Definitely the characters are a big highlight of this series for me, but also the world building is incredible. It's like very kind of like steampunk-y fantasy, and just very strange but so amazing, super fascinating. And also obviously, because this is a book about a great library, it talks about books, and you all know how much I love stories that revolve around the idea of books and knowledge and who has the right to have that knowledge, and just everything about this series is so good. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me scream. It was just so great, and I ordered all of the 5 books and I cannot wait to finally have them on my shelf. A favorite books of the year list wouldn't be complete without a Louise Penny book, and that is why All the Devils Are Here is coming in at number 8. This is Louise Penny's latest book into the amaya series, and basically, if you don't know, this is a mystery series in which we follow our main character Armand Gamache as well as his team as they go and basically solve murder. This one takes place in Paris while our main character is in vacation with his family, but because obviously he can never know peace, something terrible happens. And I really enjoyed this one. First of all, because I love Paris. Paris is like one of my favorite cities that I've ever visited. Also, this one really talks about the different family dynamics that we have in between all of those characters, and I love those type of things, especially in mysteries when like you can't really trust anyone. As always, it kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. Louise Penny's writing was just so beautiful, so wonderful, and made me feel so many things because I love all of those characters so much, and I don't want anything bad to ever happen to them, because if it does, I'm going to be completely heartbroken. But yeah, I just really enjoyed reading this one as always, and obviously it had to make this list. Then coming in at number 7, we have the very first non-fiction book to ever make it on my top 10 books of the year, and that book is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. I generally don't read a lot of nonfiction, but in 2020 I definitely made an effort to read more, especially the ones that talk about racism. I feel like 2020 was like a wake-up call for so many of us, me included, and honestly it was damn time. I've talked about how much I love the structure of this book on my channel before, because every chapter talks about a certain topic that is related to race or racism, and that's definitely one of the things that I love the most about the book, because I think that it makes the subject matter very accessible while still keeping all of the complexity and all of the different nuances that are necessary at the forefront of what Ibram X. Kendi is saying. And I also really love that it talks about theory and politics and law, but also about personal experiences that just make everything so much more real. So yeah, this book is accessible, it will keep you engaged, but it will also force you to address your privilege, and it will definitely make you learn something new. So that's why I think that everybody should read it. Then coming in at number 6 is a book that definitely took me by surprise, and that book is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. As you may already know, this year I read the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time, and it was always one of those fantasy series that I was thinking that as a fantasy fan I needed to read, and I was just like, oh, it's a classic of the genre, I should read it one day, even if I probably will not really enjoy it. But my oh my, was I wrong. I had seen the Lord of the Rings movies when I was a teenager, and I enjoyed them okay, but reading the series definitely made me completely fall in love with this world and those characters. I remember when I watched the movies for the first time, I absolutely hated Frodo. I thought he was like an idiot. I wanted nothing to do with him. I thought he was the like lamest main character ever. But reading the books, I fell completely in love with him. I love Frodo. He's so relatable. He's so great. I will defend him till my dying breath. I also completely fell in love with all of the other characters. I love Aragorn and Legolas and Sam. Another thing that also definitely blew me away when it comes to that series is Tolkien's amazing world building. I have never read a fantasy series in which the world felt as vivid as Middle-earth. One of the other things that I really love about The Lord of the Rings is that the atmosphere is at the same time like very cozy and nostalgic, and then it can also be like super stressful and very dark, which is definitely one of the things that I love the most, because it kept me entertained. Like I needed to know what was going to happen, even if I already knew because I had seen the movies. But yeah, I just loved it from beginning to end, and when I finished it I was definitely a little bit sad, and that's when you know you really enjoyed a series. So definitely The Fellowship of the Ring is, I think, my favorite, because it's like the discovery of this entire world, and it's just super fun and surprising at every single twist and turn. But I loved just the entire trilogy so much. Then we are entering the top 5 with Emma by Jane Austen. If you had told me at the beginning of the year that I would fall in love with a classic author, I would have never believed you. Well, maybe I would have believed you if you had told me that it was going to be Jane Austen, because I think she's an icon. If you've watched my Jane Austen ranking video, then you know that Emma is my favorite of hers, and it is definitely now my favorite classic of all time. And in case you don't know, in this one we follow Emma, our main character, who really loves to do some matchmaking. So she has a lot of fun trying to bring together single people from her little town, but she doesn't really want to marry herself until one of her schemes actually puts her in trouble and makes her question everything that she thinks that she knows about love. Emma is my favorite not only because I think that it is the funniest Jane Austen of them all, but also because Emma as a main character I really love. She is so flawed and so full of herself, but she is also very vulnerable, and that's definitely something that I really loved. And the way that she talked about love and about what she wanted from marriage and stuff like that was just so relatable to me somehow, and I really loved her because of that. I also obviously really love the romance in this book. It is just so full of like slow burn, and it's a friend to lovers situation, which is so messy and just so great. It makes for such funny and such moving moments. The side characters are, as always, completely ridiculous. Jane Austen's writing is super beautiful, and just all of her books really brought me so much comfort this year, but Emma was definitely the one that captivated me the most from beginning to end, because I just couldn't stop giggling while reading this book, and it just made me so happy, so it totally deserves its number 5 spot on this list. Coming in at number 4, we have two other books that made me super happy this year, and those two books are Check Please Volume 1 and Check Please Volume 2 by Ngozi Ukazu. In case you don't know about these two graphic novels, in them we follow Binti, our main character, who gets enrolled into the hockey team at his university, and we basically follow him into all of his shenanigans as he slowly becomes friend with all of the other members of the hockey team and possibly falls in love with the captain. I would have never thought in like 1,000 years that I would completely and utterly fall in love with a graphic novel about hockey, because I don't care about hockey normally, but I just loved every single second of those graphic novels. I decided to read them on a whim because I wanted something like sweet and fluffy, and they definitely delivered. The romance in this is incredible. The humor is stellar. The banter is just fantastic. I have nothing bad to say about those graphic novels. They made me so invested into a hockey game. I literally turned into a hockey mom because I loved all of those characters so much. I read all of it in one day because I was just completely obsessed from page 1, and if you want something just sweet and cute and funny, I definitely recommend those two graphic novels. You would not regret picking these up if you just want to feel like warm inside and happy, and that is definitely what I needed this year, as I keep on saying. So this is why these are like some of my favorites. I just love them so much. I'm completely obsessed. I read them twice and I already want to reread them again. Then entering the top 3, we have Surprise, another comforting, fluffy, and funny book, and that book is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. We read this book with the Tea Leaves Book Club, and honestly I am just so glad that we decided to do so, because it is definitely what we all needed. In case you don't know, The House in the Cerulean Sea follows Linus Baker, who is a worker for the Department of Protection of Magical Children. I always forget the name of that. Department in Charge of Magical Youth. And basically in this world we have like those magical children who are kept into these orphanages when they are taken care of and also cannot hurt other people around them. And so Linus basically is sent to one of those orphanages in which live some of the most dangerous magical children the world has ever known, and so he is very nervous going over there, but as he slowly starts to get to know them, he falls in love with all of those children and also their caretaker. The best way that I can describe this book is that it feels like a warm hug. The characters are just so heartwarming, their relationships with one another are just so funny and cute and very sweet, and just everything about it was just so kind and warm and just made me feel all fuzzy. It made me cry tears of happiness, and let me tell you, the books that have made me cry during this year, I can count on like the fingers of like one hand and not even that many. So definitely if you want a book that will make you laugh out loud but also make you ugly cry of happiness, I would definitely recommend this book. It's just so good. Then coming in at number 2, we have, I think, the second book that actually managed to make me cry and feel a lot of feelings this year, and that book is Loveless by Alice Oseman. In Loveless, we follow our main character Georgia, who has never really experienced romance. She has always been very interested into the concept, but she has never felt love herself. And as she starts university, she decides that she wants to finally find out what love is all about. And she gets into a couple of like very strange experiences and slowly realizes that she might actually be asexual and aromantic. Like a lot of Alice Oseman books, this one has a very special place in my heart because of how much I related to Georgia, our main character. Her experiences were just so close to my own, and it just really made me feel so many emotions at the same time. Like I was laughing, I was crying and laughing at the same time. Whether it was because of her failed romantic experiences or her sometimes messy relationships with her friends, just everything about Georgia felt so relatable to me and so close to my own experience. And I am just so grateful that Alice Oseman decided to write this book, because we definitely need more asexual representation in the media, and this one is just so good for that. Like, it made me feel seen like no other book ever has. There were so many times where I just wanted to underline like 20 lines in a row because I was just like, this is exactly what this feels like. This is me in a book. And like, I don't really know if it will ever be possible for me to explain completely what this book did to me, but let's just say that one thing that it did is definitely make me sob at like 1 a.m. in my bed. It's definitely about self-discovery and mental health, but it's also super funny and super witty and just very entertaining as well. And that is why I think that Alice Oseman is just so good at writing YA contemporaries, because she makes you feel so many things, but she will make you like die laughing on the same page. So yeah, that's why Loveless just means so much to me, and I will be forever rereading it, and that's why it is number 2 in my top 10. It could have also been number 1. I had to really ponder for a lot of time between number 1 and number 2, but nevertheless, this book is just so good. Please just read it. And then finally coming in at number 1, we have once again a complete series, because I could not choose which book of this series was my favorite. I'm going to hold up the first one, but I love all of them, and that series is the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. The Bone Season is definitely my favorite fantasy series that I have read all year. These books hooked me from page 1 until the end. I couldn't put them down. I was just completely obsessed and so invested in the story. And in case you don't know, the Bone Season series is about Paige, who lives in this futuristic dystopian version of London in which clairvoyants are illegal, but Paige is actually a clairvoyant, and her powers is that she can get into your mind and basically kick you out of your mind space. And one day she gets caught doing just that, and so she is sent over to the city of Oxford, which is now a prison, and over there she is used by this other race of people from another world who came into our world because they need to stop their own enemies from coming onto the earth and basically destroying it, which might sound very complicated, but that's because even if I have talked about those books so many times on my channel this year, I still don't really know how to give a good synopsis. As you maybe guess, the world building in this series is just so complex and so well crafted, and I really love that part of it. But as always, my favorite part is the characters. I love Paige as a main character so much. I think Samantha Shannon is just so good at creating those characters who definitely feel real, who you just cannot help but feel for, and you just want them to succeed, but also like it hurts your soul to see them go through all of those terrible things, and that is definitely how I feel about Paige. The plot is also brilliant and full of action and full of like breakneck pace, but also very beautiful and meaningful moments between the characters that I just loved so much. The romance in this book got me so invested. It had been so long since I was that invested in a romance, but oh my god, I love them both so much and I cannot wait to know what is going to happen to them. So yeah, I just really love this series. It is super angsty, the stakes are so high, the world building is original and complex and great, and just the writing is beautiful. Everything about it is just so good, and I cannot wait for the mask falling to absolutely destroy my heart. Alright, so we made it to the end. These were my top 10 books of 2020. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know down below which books were your favorite of the year, because I would definitely love to know. I always love to have some new recommendations from all of you. Also, I've never done this myself, but I've seen so many people do that recently. But like, if you've watched this video till the end but you're not really sure what to comment, leave me a heart emojis in the comments. You know, any heart will do because this was a favorite video. But anyway, I hope that you really enjoyed this one. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!